We're going to look at how to draw chests, and our aim is to keep it super simple and practical so it's really doable and actually helps your drawings. Now you tell us if we succeeded. Hi, my name's Kenzo and this is Love Life Drawing. This isn't an anatomy video really, but there are some bits of anatomy in it wherever it's going to be really useful. It's about the lines and the shapes to look for when you're drawing, and that's going to help you to see more clearly and have an impact on your drawings. First, we're going to look at the chest when someone's just at rest with their arms by their sides, and then we'll look at how the shapes and lines you see change when the arms are doing different things. The big muscles of the chest are called the pectoral muscles, or the PECS for short. Let's look at these muscles at rest first from the front. They've got a roughly pentagonal shape. The top edge runs along the collarbone, the center edge runs along the breastbone, the bottom edge runs across the rib cage, and here it comes up to attach to the bone in the arm. And then this last line is made by the deltoid muscle, the one that we looked at in the shoulder video. The pec disappears under that. So roughly speaking, from our point of view, there's these 5 sides. And they won't always be clearly defined, so don't be alarmed if some of them disappear. And with women, as we'll see later, these 2 lines on the bottom edge become a smoother curve because of the fat tissue in the breast, and actually with men it's very often more of a soft curve as well. So the pecs don't rest on a flat surface, they're on the rib cage, and we have a lesson on that shape. But let's take a quick look at it from the top, from above. It's a bit flatter here in the middle near the breastbone, but it curves round more as it gets closer to the sides, and that's going to affect the shape of the pectoral muscles on the top. For someone standing up straight, the front is usually not vertical, it's sloping gently outwards. Collarbones move up and down as the shoulders are raised and lowered. They move around almost independent of the rib cage. So if the shoulder goes up and the rib cage stays in the same place, the muscle and our pentagon shape also is going to stretch up with it. Moving the arm around is the main job of these muscles. So of course they have to attach to the bone in the upper arm. They attach a little way down the bone, and not just to a single small point, but across 4 or 5 centimeters. When the arm raises, this attachment point is going to be pulled upwards, stretching the shape again. And when the arm comes forward, that edge is going to stretch forward with it. The rib cage isn't going to move around a lot, so these 2 lines are a bit less changeable. What is going to change is how much the pec sticks out, how much it's protruding. When the arm raises, the bit that protrudes here is going to flatten out. So that's going to affect the shadows and the shade that you'll be using. There might be less shadow shape under the pec because it's stretching out when the arm's raised. Just before we continue, I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a free guide, a little booklet called Life Drawing Success. It's all about avoiding that one mistake. It's the mistake that led to all my other mistakes with figure drawing. So I think you'll like it. Check it out at lovelifedrawing.com/lifedrawingsuccess. And just under the collarbones is this kind of broad triangle of relative flatness. From these 2 sides of the triangle, things start to curve a little bit more, but inside the triangle it's relatively flat, both on men and women. And I find it's often really useful to lightly draw this triangle to understand the relationship between the pecs on each side. Now at the top of the arch of the rib cage, where it comes to a point, it's actually fairly high, that point. It comes up between the bottom edges of the 2 pecs. It's not below them, which is something people often do when they're drawing, is draw that arch much lower than the pecs. It comes up between them, and a little diamond shape might be created between the pecs and the abs. Now, in our ribcage lesson, you can learn more about the ribcage shape overall, but just to repeat one thing, the arch on the front of the torso that you can see, that's visible to you, it's either going to be the sort of sharp, pointy arch of the rib cage itself, or an arch on a more muscular figure, it might be shallower and more curved because it's being created by the abs on the top. So you might not be able to see the skeletal arch, the arch made by the rib cage, but instead see the sort of more shallow arch made by the muscles. Towards the bottom of the pecs, there's more fat tissue on both men and women, and it provides some extra volume and also smooths out some of the curves. The transition from muscle to fat is usually quite smooth, so there isn't a sort of line there that's, here's the muscle and here's the fat. But it might be a little bit more clear when the muscle's really tensed up. The nipples aren't in the middle of the chest, but they're off to the side a bit. And keep in mind that people's nipples can be in different places, and they're not really reliable landmarks telling you about structural stuff. It's useful to check the angle of the line between them when you're drawing them, but don't expect that angle to always tell you lots of structural things about the rest of the torso. So when you have a pose with the chest visible, have a look for these 5 lines around the pec. Is the arm position making these lines of the muscles stretch somewhere? Has the lower edge been flattened out because the muscle's being stretched out? Or maybe you'll see it's softened into a gentle curve because of fat. See if you can see that flat triangle coming down from the collarbone. Notice how the pecs overall aren't flat but are resting on top of the rib cage, which curves back as it gets to the sides of the torso. Hopefully, instead of having this overwhelm when you're looking at a figure, by knowing what lines to look for and making a little bit of sense of them, it becomes easier and easier to know what lines you're going to draw. So how did we do, guys? Did we make chests easier to approach and draw? Were these tips practical? Let us know in the comments below. Your feedback's really appreciated. And while you're here, why not check out another of our great videos? There's some up here on the screen.